Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is to be our second video in the new and improved Paladin PvE guide. So today we're basically talking about skills. Yesterday I talked about stats. Drink a drink of water. I'm out here in Ashenvale for better change of scenery, better music, that kind of stuff. We should see some Horde passing through here as they do this quest. When I was playing the Horde, I used to love this quest. All right, let's talk about spells real fast here. Paladin spells that we have and we don't have. First, I think I'm going to talk about seals real quick, and I'm just going to give a general like TLDR on seals. I probably should start with seals that I do not actually own, which would be Seal of Command. So the way Seal of Command works is it gives your character a % chance based upon the speed of the weapon swing to proc an additional attack chance, because I say attack chance because it's like another melee swing basically. So it has to go through block, dodge, and parry, and miss, and then if it hits the target, it hits the target, which kind of sucks for Seal of Command because that's why it's called Seal of Casino. So for example, first your target, you have to hit your target, so you have to go through block, dodge, and parry, and miss. Then you have to then see if Seal Command procs, it also has to run the gambit, block, dodge, and parry, and of course miss. Miss being the easiest to mitigate of those, of course. All told, what this means is that Seal of Command, if you're swinging a 3.8 speed weapon, it has about a 44% chance to proc. If you're swinging a weapon at half that speed, it would have half that % chance of proccing. So I guess that would be a, what is that? 1.5 plus 0.4, so it'd be a 2.9. So if you're swinging a 2. No, is that right? No way. 1.5 plus 0.4 is 1.9. Yeah, okay. So if you had a 1.9 swing speed weapon, it would be 22% proc chance. That's basically how it works. But once you factor in Seal of the Casino type elements, it's more accurate to say that Seal of Command has somewhere in the vicinity with a 3.8 speed weapon of having a 33-35% proc chance. It gets better with the more hit gear you have, because of course that starts going off the equation. There's only like a 10% miss chance, like dodge 5%, parry 5%, blah 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 blah. When it does proc, it does what it says in the tin, which is it does 70% of weapon damage as holy damage. This I've been told is subject in a interesting synergy with Vengeance. So Vengeance normally would be a plus 15% damage boost to your white damage and your holy damage. But since Seal of Command is activating from both white damage and holy damage, it double dips into the Vengeance, the command proc. So for example, if you had a weapon that did 100 points of damage when it hit the target, if Seal of Command procced, that's not even true. let me try to rephrase that. If you had a weapon that did 100 points of damage before armor was taken into effect, like as if the target had 0 armor, when Seal of Command proc, Seal of Command would do 70 holy damage to the target. All right, you follow me on that? Because it's just 70% of your weapon damage before armor is taken into consideration. This is why when I'm dueling Drakova or some other Paladin, their white attacks will be hitting me for like 200, and their command crits will be coming out for like 1,500. Basically, it ignores armor in the extreme, if that makes any sense. The way Vengeance works with this is Vengeance is going to increase the white damage by 15%, so now it would go up to like 115%. But then it would also increase the holy damage of command by an additional 15%. So you'd have to whip out the calculator and figure out what the hell. It would literally be 115, 70% of that times 1.15, because another 15% damage bonus on top of that. So basically double dips with the Seal of Command proc. Other interesting things about Seal of Command is that this extra auto attack is a true extra auto attack. Which means it can proc anything in the game. It can proc, what the hell is it? It can proc Maelstrom Trinket. It can proc Hand of Justice Trinket. It can proc oils. It can proc everything in the game. Whereas when we talk about Seal of Righteousness only gets a ×2 proc on certain things. More specifically, only things that are attached or applied or enchants on your weapon specifically. Seal of Command is an entirely additional auto attack, so it can proc anything in the entire game. The only other thing to talk about with Seal of Command is... Let me think. I like the music. The music's distracting me. The only other thing to talk about Seal of Command, to my knowledge, is... Does it proc? No, what the hell was it trying to say? Sorry, brain fart here real fast. Damn music. What else does it proc? Does it proc anything? Oh, wreck bombs. Yeah, okay. When you wreck bomb somebody, you can only get one Seal of Command proc because it does have an internal CD of like 0.2 seconds. So the only time that the internal CD of Seal of Command even applies whatsoever is specifically in wreck bombs. I suppose I could showcase Reckoning when we get to that. However, any additional auto attack, anything, such as Flurry Axe, God forbid, Thrash Blade, God forbid, or Hand of Justice trinkets, extra auto attacks, they're not subject to the internal CD. So if you walk up and you white damage somebody and you get a command proc on your white damage attack, and then either the white damage or the command proc decides to proc a Hand of Justice, which if you don't know, Hand of Justice is a trinket that has a 2% chance per hit to proc an additional auto attack. That additional auto attack will come out and also has a chance to proc Seal of Command. There's no internal CD there. I'm not entirely sure why. It might be that the internal CD is too quick to activate, or Reckoning is just a special ed boy because nobody wants to see like 5 or 6 command procs on a wreck bomb. That would be that could theoretically chain into oblivion, and so you basically just wind fairy people to death, which would be terrifying. Too much damage. So anyways, it's limited in the wreck bomb in general. There is some horrifying TLDR on this, however, which is that additional Reckoning charges gained immediately after activating a wreck bomb can actually proc additional Seal of Command charges. If that is a mouthful to you, you're like, wait, what the hell? Let's say you run up to somebody and you don't wreck bomb them immediately, and you let them hit you first, or the mob hit you first, and then you attack with your wreck bomb. This is supposed to be PvE guide, but just bear with me on this. I'm just explaining the seal. If the mob crit you a fraction of a second after you initiated your wreck bomb, the game will actually batch that additional wreck charge into your wreck bomb, so you'll get like 6 attacks rather than 5 attacks. And that additional +1 attack can generate an additional +1 Seal of Command. So again, weird coding, but just know that it doesn't batch with Reckoning at all. Alright, so that's pretty much everything that I know about Seal of Command, to be perfectly honest with you. There is the judgment behind it, and it basically does what it says in the tin, which is basically I do more damage to stun targets. To my knowledge, it doesn't like synergize into Oblivion, if that makes any sense to you whatsoever. So it's not like you're going to be out here and judging Seal of Command into people with a bunch of spell power, and if it crits, they take like, 27,000 holy damage. To my knowledge, that's either too hard to do, or it's just not a thing in general, if that makes any sense. Alright, cool. Let's move on to the next seal. Let's talk about something simple, because, there's horde stuff going on out here. Let's talk about Seal of the Crusader real fast. So Seal of the Crusader always does this thing where it grants you a bunch of additional melee attack power, and then it gives you spell power, obviously, on the Judgment. But it's also telling us that it increases our attack speed by 40%. You don't actually gain any DPS by this increased attack speed whatsoever. If you can test it, but basically, if you did 100 DPS and you activated Seal of the Crusader, and there was no melee attack power on Seal of Crusader, you would still be doing exactly 100 DPS. You would just be attacking 40% faster. This has some advantages. So, for example, you can proc anything in the game. These are additional full auto attacks. So, you know, Hand of Justice, Maelstrom Trinket, Heroism Trinket, all that goodness. Frost Oils. It'll proc additional judgments, like Judgment of Light, Seal of Light. So there are some advantages to the 40% increased attack speed of Seal of Crusader. There are some disadvantages. One of the major disadvantages, of course, is that you'll give your enemy more parry haste. But the simple fact of the matter is that Seal of the Crusader is not a thing because Seal of Righteousness and Seal of the Crusader basically have it beat on all fronts. So Seal of the Crusader is almost exclusively used for its additional spell power in the Judgment. However, while you're leveling, it's not the worst thing in the world to go from Seal of the Crusader. Like, I'll showcase it somewhere in this video, but when you're at lower levels, it's not the worst thing in the world to use your max rank Seal of the Crusader. So you'll kill a mob just using Seal of the Crusader. You'll still have it up when you move to the next mob. You'll judge Crusader on the next mob. You'll re-seal a Righteousness rank 3 to use its spell power. And you'll just rinse and repeat. So one mob you kill with pure Seal of the Crusader, and another mob you kill with with Judgment of the Crusader and Righteousness rank 3. You can mix in stuff like that, but normally you're just using Seal of the Crusader for its massive spell power buff. So you can see here it's almost plus 200 spell power. Keep in mind this is kind of mid-maxing Seal of the Crusader. So for example, I've got the Marshal's Gloves, which adds 20 damage to Seal of the Crusader. If I take it off, Seal of the Crusader will actually tell me that it's lost 20 spell power, which is nice. I have the Libram of Fervor down here, further increasing its spell power by 33 and, you know, attack power. If I take it off, then it'll actually update. So blah, 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 blah. All right, put that back on. All right, so we're done with Seal of the Crusader. The 40% does not increase your DPS, but it has some benefits. All right, where is Seal of Righteousness? Holy crap, I have an entire video on Seal of Righteousness. The TLDR on Seal of Righteousness, even though I have a whole video on this damn thing, is the spell powers vary based upon whether it's a one-hander or a two-hander, spell power ratios. Rank 3 Seal of Righteousness always has the best spell power ratio. Spell power ratio on Seal of Righteousness is not subject to weapon speed, so you typically want the fastest one-handed weapon possible. The super TLDR on it is that one of two seals is going to do the most damage, and you just have to test it with whatever weapon you're currently using. It's either going to be the max rank Seal of Righteousness that does the most damage, or it's going to be rank 3 Seal of Righteousness that does the most damage. It just is what it is, all right? But you can cycle through all the seals if you want to and see which one does the most damage for you. Just know that it gets kind of frisky and interesting once you have a bunch of spell power. You start factoring in spell power, blah, 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 blah. So for example, the Seal of Righteousness rank 3 has like an 18.66% spell power ratio behind it, regardless of weapon speed. So if you're using a slow weapon with Seal of Righteousness rank 3, you're probably better off using the max rank seal for Seal of Righteousness rank 3. Which has a, like, 10% spell power ratio behind it for one-handed and, like, a 13% spell power ratio behind it, I want to say, for two-handed. But it'll do more base damage with the two-handed weapon. Right, rank 3 is, like, 20% for two-handers, and it's, like, 18.66% for one-handers. Which is why the fastest one-handed weapon possible, Seal of Righteousness rank 3, Judgment of Crusader for spell power, ends up being really good. Other weird notes about Seal of Righteousness is that it does ×2 proc things, but it only ×2 procs things that are specifically like related to your weapon or enchants on your weapon, if that makes any sense. So, for example, anything that is a chance on hit on your weapon, it will ×2 proc. Any kind of enchant you have on your weapon, like Lifesteal, it will ×2 proc. Any kind of Frost Oil or Shadow Oil you put on your weapon, it will ×2 proc. Even though Shadow Oil has a internal cooldown of 10 seconds, so you'll never see it ×2 proc. It'll have like a 30% chance to proc per hit with a 10-second internal cooldown. Rather than a 15%. Woof! But Frost Oil here will have two 10% chances to proc per hit, regardless of weapon speed. It does not ×2 proc any additional source of ×2 anything. With the sole exception, I think, of like food buff. So there is that one food buff that is Dragon Breath Chili. I think it ×2 procs it. I don't know. But Dragon Breath totally has spell power ratio behind it, so that's also kind of cool. Frost Oil has spell power ratio behind it. It's like 30%. Shadow Bolts, Shadow Protection, no, Shadow Oil Potion has like a 60% spell power ratio behind it. You don't have a lot of spell power when you're leveling. Your only real source of spell power while you're leveling is Judgment of the Crusader, so don't worry about all these ratios or anything like that. Other hidden things that don't matter for PvE, but they are a PvE thing, and I'll just say it real fast, is it does also cause ×2 pushback in PvP. So if someone's trying to cast a spell, every time you bitch slap them with Seal of Righteousness on, it will ×2. It'll count as 2 attacks for pushback purposes. I suppose I can talk about how pushback works real fast. Pushback works by, the first pushback is like -1 second of spell casting time. The second one is half of that, so 0.5 seconds, and then half into oblivion until you successfully cast the spell. That 1 second of pushback time can be so severe that you kind of want it to activate it early if you're going to activate it at all. How do I explain that? It'll be like, right before you get hit by the enemy, start casting your spell. That way, when you do suffer the pushback from them, rather than it being a full second pushback, it'll only be like 0.3 seconds of pushback, because that's how the pushback mechanic. It can't push you back beyond 0. So if you've been casting for 0.3 seconds and you suffer pushback, you'll get pushback for 0.3 seconds, not the full second. And then the next one that hits you will be half a second, and then a quarter of a second, and yada, yada, yada. But this causes ×2 pushback. There's something else that it does I wanted to mention. I can't remember. It also causes you to suffer ×2 reflect damage. So if there's any creature or thing in the game that damages you when you hit it, if you hit it with Seal of Righteousness, you'll get twice the reflect damage back. It's actually kind of interesting. So yeah, Seal of Righteousness, absolutely amazing. Rank 3 and very fast weapons are definitely the way to go. Slower weapons prefer the max rank Seal of Righteousness. There's about 100 damage difference in the judgment between rank 3 and rank 8, the max rank. There is no spell power ratio difference, so it's usually just about 100 judge damage difference. Not that big of a deal for what you get out of it. All right, Judgment of Wisdom, Seal of Wisdom. Oh boy, let me take a drink of water here. Seal of Wisdom, Seal of Light. Seal of Light and Seal of Wisdom have 15 ppm. That means procs per minute, which doesn't mean anything. It's best to explain it that if you had a 4-second swing speed weapon, Seal of Light and Seal of Wisdom would have a 100% proc chance per hit. All right, you follow me on that? If you had a 3.8 speed weapon, they would have a 95% chance to hit. If you were using a Flurry Axe, like I have down here, a 1.5 speed weapon, and Seal of Light or Seal of Wisdom, then it would have a 37.5% chance to hit. Because again, it's timed for one proc per 4 seconds of swing time is the best way to think about it. Right? You follow me on that? However, the judgment of this seal... the judgment of this seal, and this is actually something I need to go test, which I probably should go find a target real fast. The judgment of this, I want a weapon that's not going to murder people too much. Anyways, the judgment of this weapon has a 50% chance to proc, regardless of your weapon swing speed. It works that way for Seal of Wisdom as well. The mechanics here are identical. So, which is why when you're tanking or AoE tanking, or you just want mana back in general, you want the fastest weapon possible, because even though the seal doesn't benefit from your weapon speed going up, the judgment does benefit from your weapon speed going up. All right, so some people wanted me to test. Let's do a combat log here real fast, because every once in a while Blizzard changes things, and I haven't tested stuff in like a million years, so what the F do I know? So what I want to do is I want Seal of Light. Okay, cool, she's over here. I'm going to put Judgment of Light on this guy and use Seal of Righteousness and just see if I can get it to ×2 proc. I should not be able to, though. And homie's going to die here real fast. Wow, that was pretty good. But somebody was telling me that they think that it ×2 procs with SOR. And I haven't tested it in long enough to know one way or the other if it's doing that. But I guess we'll see here. If it is 50%, that is frighteningly fast. I'm not going to lie. All right, let's see. We should see it do it twice if it is... Okay, yeah, never mind. Pfft, whatever. But you can see I got... Yeah, Flurry Axe doing Flurry Axe thing. So I don't know. Feel free to test it. Maybe it does proc twice. Maybe it doesn't proc twice. Hell if I know. But that's how it works, and that's why we use the faster one-handed weapons. All right, well, what's the next seal to talk about? I think the next seal to talk about is Seal of Justice. You almost never use this thing, but I'll tell you about it. You use Judgment of Justice a lot, but you don't use Seal of Justice a lot. Where the hell is it? Seal of Justice, okay. So the Judgment stops people from running, extremely useful. And the last thing about it is there like, or whatever. You know what, go away. We're done here. What else do I want to talk about real quick here? Back up. Yep, jump. No. Jump. Oh, whatever. The Judgment... Okay, so this thing is weird. There are some interesting things behind this, but it's not really a PvE thing ever. It does have a chance to stun the target. The stun of the target is PPM, which means the slower the swing speed, the more likely it is to proc. It's on its own internal cooldown, would be the interesting thing about it. So it does share an internal, damn it, not an internal cooldown, ICD, diminishing return. There's the term, diminishing returns. So the first stun will be 2 seconds, the second stun will be 1 second, and the third stun will be a half of whatever 1 second is, so a half a second, right? It's on its own diminishing returns, however, which means that if you 6-second stun somebody, and then you Seal of Justice stun them, there will be no diminishing return on Seal of Justice. You'll stun them for 2 seconds with Seal of Justice. Not very useful in PvE, however, you know, it can be used to interrupt spell casting and yada yada yada. Blah, 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 use it where it is. Mostly it's just primarily used for its Judgment. If there's a jerk-off running away and you really, really don't need them running away, you just, you know, judge Seal of Justice on them and they'll spin around and start attacking you. That's the really big thing about that. But I think we're done with seals. I don't think there's any other seal I need to really be talking about here. It's just Seal of the Crusader, Seal of Justice, Seal of Wisdom. Yeah, I think we're done. Okay, cool. All right, let's talk about some healing stuff here. Oh god, Blessing of Light. Oh geez, I've done very lengthy, long videos on Blessing of Light. Here's your TLDR on it. Oh yeah. Let me find my rank 1 Flash of Light. Where are you at, rank 1-er? Come here. There we are. Okay, cool. Here's my max rank Flash of Light as I'm just standing here in this gear. Right? Not bad. Not bad. I got some spell power ratio right now. It should, yeah, I got, you know, a decent amount of spell power ratio on my Paladin. Now, if I put Blessing of Light on myself, which I have it over here, it's going to increase this, like, 515 or whatever the hell it is that we're doing right now by exactly what it says in the tin. So it says, the effect of your Flash of Light spells increased by 115. It is not messing around with that 115 number, which means this max rank will go up by pretty much exactly 115. All right? But watch what it does. Are we done lagging? Watch what it does with rank 1. This is a 35 mana heal that is going off for like 300. And it's going off for 300 because when I turn off Blessing of Light, it'll lose, once again, like 115. Your rank 1 Flash of Light has 100% of the spell power of your max rank Flash of Light. The TLDR on this is when you're in full healing gear, you can rank 1 Flash of Light on targets that have Blessing of Light for something stupid like 600, and you can max rank on them for 900. So you'll be spending 140 mana for a 900 heal, or you could spend 35 mana for a 600 heal. All right, you follow me on this? Which means that there's really 2 ways to heal as a Paladin in PvE. Again, I have many videos on this, so feel free to go look at it. I've done the math. Don't come at me on this. So the way it works is you either Blessing of Light somebody and you spam a rank 1 Flashes of Light until they're about to be below 50% health. And then you holy light them within the space of time. So by the time your holy light goes off, the tank is like at 45, 50% health or something like that. And you just alternate between rank 1, flash of light, and then holy light spam to make up for the efficiency. And that's actually an extremely efficient way to heal as a paladin, particularly when you're wearing just raw plus healing gear. The other route is to stack a critical strike chance and then just to use max rank flash of light into oblivion. That's the other way to heal as a paladin. And these two healing methods are competitive with each other for paladin gameplay. So for example, if you've ever seen a video where it's like a warrior, a paladin, and a hunter soloing a Nixia, you're going to watch the paladin using rank 1 flash of light spam into oblivion, just because you cannot while you're rank 1 flashing of light. So if the tank can't be killed while he's being rank 1 flash of light spammed, rank 1 flash of light with a mix of max rank flashes of light and then holy lights here and there, a paladin can keep that up virtually indefinitely. So they're super, super efficient healers if they can find their rank 1 flash of light. But just know that Blessing of Light is in fact a rather large component of this. Alright, cool. And that's the TLDR on Blessing of Light. Blessing of Wisdom in PvP. Oh, and the Blessing of Light stuff starts at level 40 because you get your first rank of Blessing of Light at level 40, which means when you're in dungeons, you have to contemplate like what's better, a Blessing of Sanctuarying the tank and then healing him, or Blessing of Lighting the tank and mixing in some rank 1 spams for their horrifying mana efficiency. Why is that so low? Are we just rolling badly? You were doing 300s before. What happened? Oh, this is probably this. Yeah, this is the level 41. My bad. I'm like, what the hell? Use the max rank, you dingus. All right, let's talk Seal of Wisdom. Okay. So while you're leveling, you have a number of seal options. You can use Blessing of Might, you can use Blessing of Wisdom, or you can use Blessing of Sanctuary, are basically your 3 options. And you might think to yourself that Blessing of Might does more damage, therefore it's better for single target. Blessing of Sanctuary is clearly best for multi-targeting, like AoE farming and stuff. And then Blessing of Wisdom is just kind of meh. If all the speedrunners have done the math on all the blessings, and everyone's come back and basically said that the best blessing while you're leveling is, without exception, Blessing of Wisdom. And that's only true until you get Blessing of Sanctuary. But I just want you guys to know that you can do the math on this for yourself. So we have to basically talk about these. We can't talk about Blessing of Wisdom without talking about its opportunity cost compared to the other blessing possibilities, right? And I guess we got to throw in Blessing of Kings there as well, even though I also have a Blessing of Kings video. All right, so your XP per hour is going to be determined by a number of factors. It's going to be determined by how quickly can you kill the mobs, how much mana, like what does your downtime look like, which is going to be primarily in terms of mana, right? Like how much time did you have to spend recovering from killing a number of mobs? Like how often do you have to do that? And then what is your travel time from A to B? So for example, if we had an enchant to boots that like doubled our movement speed as a paladin all the time, we'd have to think about that as a DPS increase. Because it might take us like, let's say it takes us 25 seconds to kill a mob. Then on average, we have to spend 5 seconds eating or drinking to recover from killing that mob. And then it takes us another 6 or 7 seconds to run over to the next mob, right? That's all part of the factor of how long it's taking us to kill a mob, go from mob to mob to mob. So if we double our movement speed from A to B, we're clearly reducing a significant portion of that kill time chain, if that makes any sense. Looting is also technically part of that chain, but yada, yada, yada. This all comes to a head when you realize that Blessing of Wisdom is the only blessing that is active at all parts of this chain of events. So while you are fighting the mob, Blessing of Wisdom is active. While you are recovering from fighting the mob, Blessing of Wisdom is active. While you are moving from mob to mob, Blessing of Wisdom is active. This cannot be said the same for kings to a large extent. It can't be said the same for Sanctuary, and it cannot be said the same for Blessing of Might. All three of those are only really active when you are in combat, which is only, it's about 50% or 2/3 of the total equation. You'll be spending 2/3 of your time in combat and like 1/3 of your time out of combat, and this varies based upon Paladin to Paladin. It's why on paper the two-handed Paladin does more DPS than the one-handed Paladin, but once you factor in recovery time, which the sword and board Paladin doesn't really have, and the two-handed Paladin has to eat and drink in order, basically every third mob kill, you can see how their DPS might suffer from a more significant recovery time. So everyone's done the math on this, and Blessing of Wisdom basically just comes out on top. However, when you are pulling AoE mobs, Blessing of Sanctuary is most definitely the way to go. So Blessing of Sanctuary is when you really get to start doing your AoE thing at level 41, because you have Consecration and Blessing of Sanctuary. It has, in the old guides, used to tell us that at level 41, but this is another video I should make. I should just stick with spells here, but I'll just TLDR this real fast. In the old guides at level 30, we used to respec as a paladin to come down and pick up Blessing of Sanctuary, and we would start AoE farming like 3 mobs or so at a time using a fast one-handed weapon. Well, it used to be a slow one-handed weapon. Seal of Light and Judgment of Light. So you'd pull 3 mobs, you'd use Blessing of Sanctuary, you'd have a shield spike on your shield, you'd have the red aura for reflect damage, and you would just use double seal and Judgment of Light along with Blessing of Sanctuary to AoE take the mobs. This was before we started learning that Stamina Intellect gear was actually a thing, and that Seal of Righteousness rank 3, and I say before we, and honestly I probably should just say me, before I figured it out, just to give credit where credit is deserved. Sounds arrogant, but it is what it is. Before we figured out the Seal of Righteousness rank 3 and Stamina Intellect gear was actually super powerful and could be used in conjunction with rank 1 Consecration to greatly increase our DPS. So basically these days at level 30, I tested it, we don't actually do Blessing of Sanctuary anymore. What you do is you come down here, pick up Consecration, and at level 30 or so you'll probably have Readout going at that point. So that's like level 25 or something that you'll have 5 points in Readout. And you start AoE tanking even earlier. You start AoE tanking as a paladin, around about level 25 once you get enough points in Readout that you feel comfortable with it. But you use Of the Eagle gear and you use rank 1 Consecration, and you don't even worry about Blessing of Sanctuary anymore. You just add Blessing of Sanctuary in at level 41. And that's when your AoEing really gets going. I think you get Seal of Wisdom at like level, I want to say 38. Which is when your AoE farming can... Anyways, the point is you can start AoE farming much earlier than Blessing of Sanctuary these days. Even when you can respec for Blessing of Sanctuary, it is inferior to the Consecration. I've tested it, yada. But it is the superior... so Blessing of Wisdom is the superior seal under all circumstances, unless you're doing AoE farming, at which point Blessing of Sanctuary is superior, assuming you even have it. But you won't have it until level 41, blah. Okay, cool. So that pretty much should do all the blessings. Let's keep it moving here. We did Flash of Light, got the blessings. Holy Light is interesting. There's nothing really all that interesting to talk about. It does get its 100% ratio, I think, at around rank 4. Someone did inform me of this. So, for example, if you watch the rank 3, you're going to watch it be horrible diminishing gas, like almost half. Basically, you get like 100% spell power ratio. Oh god, this guy's going to die. There's not really anything I can do to help him, in theory. Well, I guess he can help himself. Or just die. God damn, alright. Go get him. Live and learn, I guess. And this doesn't really change with Blessing of Light. So let's get this off real fast here. Go on, go away, shoo. All right, so here's rank 3 with no Blessing of Light. Just in case you think there's some kind of synergy that can be had here. Here's me putting on my Blessing of Light, which should do what it says in the tin of adding plus 400. But watch what it does to rank 3. Rank 3 used to be like 300 or something. It's definitely not adding 400. If I do rank 1, it'll probably be like 100 or 120. Yeah, it's not really adding anything. But watch what happened to the rank 4. Because the rank 4, you get around level 20, which is where you get like max rank spell powers. Yeah, that's adding, clearly it's adding 400 to it. Right? Kind of nuts. This is also 35. No, this is 190 mana. It's not even 30 mana. That sucks. All right, get rid of it. Here's 5. Again, without it. What? Oh, no, 5. My bad. I want 4. 5 or 4? 4. All right. 4? Please don't do that. Okay, cool. 6 hundo. So I should be able to see 1,000 eventually, right? Okay, yeah. It's definitely adding 400. All right. Still not as powerful as rank 1 Flash of Light, clearly. All right, what else is there to talk about? Holy Lights, Checkaroo, Lay on Hands, Holy Wrath, whatever. Purify. Redemption, nothing to really talk about there. We talked about the seals. Are we done with the Holy Tree? It looks like we are done. Yeah, we got to turn undead. What about it? Blessing of Protection, anything to really talk about? The 3-minute Blessing of Protection is actually really, really good. Just because you can jump from when you're Stamina Intellect Paladin, you can survive long enough to go from like bop to bubble to bop to bubble, which is kind of terrifying if you really need to. So if you're in the super dire circumstances, just Blessing of Protection yourself and then like bandage or heal to full. And then all you have to do is survive a minute until you get to your bubble. And then once that bubble is completed, all you have to do is survive like, let me think, it's like less than 2 minutes. It's like a minute 40 seconds or something, and you'll make it to your next Blessing of Protection. It's actually really good. And if you make it to your second Blessing of Protection, you've only got like another minute 40 seconds to go before you make it to your next bubble. And then another minute and 40 seconds to go before you make it to your next Blessing of Protection. And do you see a pattern here? Oh, and finally, I think there's a long wait for your next bubble. Yeah, so it's like, okay, we've been in combat for 8 minutes, and finally I need to worry about needing to wait longer than 2 minutes to make it to my next bopper bubble. It's actually kind of insane and intense. The increase... My bad, I guess I gotta look at the talents. The talent would be this one, Guardian's Favor. Reduce the cooldown of your Blessing of Protection by 120 seconds. Increase the duration of your Blessing of Freedom by 6 seconds. That Blessing of Freedom increase by 6 seconds is massive. Why is this? Because when it's 16 seconds, it's a 16-second go screw yourself on slowing me down on a 20-second cooldown. Which from a PvP perspective is insane. From a hardcore, I need to not die, I'm running for my life perspective, also completely amazing. That's only on a 4-second CD. So this is 2 talent points well spent on hardcore PvP servers, PvE servers. It's just absolutely amazing. Do not leave home without it. What else is there? Blessing of Sacrifice. It does what it says in the tin. Crits from Blessing of Sacrifice will not give you reckoning charges. They used to, and then Dracova made a mockery of it, and the Blizzard nerfed it. Blessing of Sanctuary. Sacrifice is not subject to armor. So it won't reduce it by your armor or anything, but it is subject to the opposing player's armor, if that makes sense. So if the opposing player gets hit for 500 damage but gets it cut in half, it'd be 250. 55 of that damage will be transferred over to you as the Paladin. Can be used to avoid CCs. This is a really, really powerful blessing, believe it or not. In raids, it's not the worst idea in the world to put Blessing of Sacrifice on your tanks or on people who theoretically might need it. I'm actually not joking. Just because it's so powerful and it pairs super, super well with Blessing of Sanctuary, which does something similar. You can only have one blessing on at a time, but yeah, this is still amazing. It's like mostly it's a PvP ability, but in PvE, it's got some serious applications, especially if you're like if you are doing any kind of a paladin leveling with some other character. So, for example, I know you get the rank 1 Blessing of Sacrifice pretty damn early, like level 36 or something like that, or possibly even sooner. And you can get Blessing of Sanctuary somewhere around there. So let's say you were leveling with like a Warlock, for example, which is one of the better combinations, a Warlock and Paladin. Well, Warlocks like to Hellfire and kind of get themselves in trouble. They get punched in the dick a lot, but they can also gain a lot of armor and damage reduction and yada, yada, yada. So basically, you'll run around as the Paladin in your armor aura for the Warlock. You'll, I guess you can't put Blessing of Sanctuary on him and Blessing of Sacrifice at the same time. So in that case, you'd want to put Blessing. But if you were two Paladins, you could do it, right? There's some other weird things to note about Blessing of Sanctuary, but this is only like a level 60 shit. If somehow you put a greater Blessing of Sanctuary on something, and you put a normal Blessing of Sanctuary on something, like you got two Paladins with Blessing of Sanctuary, I have heard tell, and this was back in the day, so Blizzard might have nerfed it, that they actually stack. So rather than taking a 24 damage reduction, you'll take a 48 damage reduction. And of course, Blessing of Sacrifice would come in here and also tell people to get fucked. There's some other crazy things about Blessing of Sacrifice. You'll never see a dueling tournament where it's like a Warsong Gulch team versus another Warsong Gulch team dueling tournament. You'll never see that in existence, even though that sounds really fun to have like a pro Warsong Gulch team versus another pro Warsong Gulch team. Like, you know, whatever composition you want, let's just figure out what the best possible team in Warsong Gulch is. Because a team of 10 Paladins is going to win that Warsong Gulch every single time. And the reason for this is Blessing of Sanctuary, or Blessing of Sacrifice. Because why? Because if you have 10 Paladins, you can have 10 Blessing of Sacrifices. Well, it's not quite 10. It's more like 9. But something stupid like 9 to 10 Blessings of Sacrifices on any given Paladin at any point in time. To the point where they're running around saying, oh yeah, I take like 550 reduced damage from all incoming attacks. And it's like split evenly across all these other Paladins. Which, Jesus fucking Christ, if that doesn't sound terrifying. Holy crap. And then good luck, you know, for the Horde purging all that off of the Paladins just to try to kill something. When they finally do end up borderline killing it, it just bubbles and, like, runs back through the Horde of Paladins. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of Reckoning Paladins in the front and H-Pallies in the back. Just good fucking luck. It's just absolutely hilarious if you've never seen it before. Every once in a blue moon, me and Drakova will partner up with like one or two other Paladins, and we'll have like 4 or 5 Blessings of Sacrifice on Drakova, and it's just fucking hilarious watching him go into the Horde with 0 shits given. They're like, help, I'm being repressed. What else is there to talk about? All right, let's talk about Blessing of Sanctuary really quick here. Salvation does what it says in the tin. Stock Blessing of Sanctuary. You know, blow my nose or something real quick here. Damn, find a tissue. That is not a tissue. Here's a tissue. One sec, guys. Alright, cool. We're back. Hopefully we're still recording here. Can you guys still hear me? Sweet. Only been here an hour. Only been here an hour. Said it before, I'll say it again. This Blessing of Sanctuary has a lot of synergy with your armor. Because this damage reduction of 24 does come after your armor, so the higher you get your armor up, the more benefit you get out of Blessing of Sanctuary. There is an escalating return on Blessing of Sanctuary in conjunction with your overall damage reduction, particularly from armor. Every source of damage reduction in the game that I know of happens after your armor. So for example, let's say you were taking 100 points of damage and you had 50% armor, right? You would go from taking 100 points of damage cut by armor, so now you're taking 50 damage, and then it would minus 24 from that 50 damage. Your shield block works pretty much exactly the same, where first it would cut it by 100, or it cuts it by your armor, and then it reduces it by all the flat numbers. So 42 for the shield block and 24 for the Blessing of Sanctuary. How this escalates and scales is when you're a big armor turd, like this Paladin is here, and you have like 63% armor. So in this equation, it would be like, rather than taking 100 damage, I cut it by 63%. So now I'm taking, what is that, 37 damage, and then 37 damage would be minus 24, which is basically almost nothing. So, again, Blessing of Sanctuary does scale pretty goddamn hard with any kind of armor damage reduction bonuses. bonuses. This is why when you're AoE tanking as a paladin, you literally just want enough intellect that you can AoE down the pack of mobs that you're comfortable with pulling, plus 20% intellect in case RNG doesn't go your way. Once you hit that break point on mana, there's really isn't any purpose of going into more mana past that, and you're better off getting more stamina, and really you're better off getting more armor. Armor on your paladin is absolutely amazing. If you're wondering what kind of gear that looks like while you're leveling, heavy mithril gear, I can probably make it. Let's see it real fast here. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to go into blacksmithing. I'm going to find plate. Pop, plate. Ornate mithril. No, definitely not ornate mithril. It's heavy mithril. So this heavy mithril breastplate here, you'll see that the armor is in green, whereas normally the armor isn't. What this is telling you is that some of the stats on this piece of gear are being transferred to armor. So rather than it being like, 15 stamina and 15 intellect, it's giving us an armor bonus on the gear. That's why it's green in the heavy mithril gear. On hardcore, once you hit, it's usually very hard to gear your paladin out early on, especially once you hit like level 40. You want all plate. It's hard to plan the plate mail transition once you hit level 40. However, the heavy mithril boots, heavy mithril breastplate, and the heavy mithril gear set in general is really, really good for that. Just because it gives you the other stats you need besides intellect, which is just armor and stamina, because that'll synergize really, really well with Blessing and Sanctuary. All right, let's keep it moving. Divine Protection. There's some weird stuff with this. I made a bunch of videos showing you how to not die in dungeons using Divine Protection. Feel free to watch those videos. They can explain it better than I can here. What else? Divine Shield. Ugh, nothing to talk about there. Divine Intervention. Does what it says in the tin. Fire Resist Aura. There's some interesting things to say about resistances, but okay. The TLDR is that the only interesting resist on your Paladin is Fire Resist. Why is this? For PvE purposes. Because Fire Resist is the only consistent resist. Meaning that once you get above certain levels of fire resistance on your Paladin, you never see 0% resists anymore, and you never see 100% resists anymore. It's always 25, 75, or 50% resisted. It's never 0%, it's never 100%. And there's tons of fire damage in the game that can kill you, right? Especially in Molten Core and Blackwing Lair and stuff, right? So if you wonder how people survive that consistently, even though the damage can vary wildly, just know that fire resist is so consistent once you start stacking it on your character that you get to basically ignore, at a minimum, 25% of the fire damage coming your way, which is a really, really big deal. All the other resistances play by normal rules, which means when you get hit with a spell, it'll be 0%, 25, 50, 75, or 100% resistance, right? It'll be one of those 5 things that's happening, and the percent chance of those, which of those it is, varies based upon how much resistance you're currently wearing. Frost Resist is a special boy. Frost Resist is the complete opposite of Fire Resist. It's either 0% resisted, or it does 100% of the damage with nothing in between. Okay? So to give you an example of this, if I had enough resistance on my character that had a 50% damage reduction, how Frost Resist would play that out, it would literally flip a coin, and half the time you're taking 100% damage, and the other half the time you're taking no damage. It would be a 50-50 coin toss, and that's how it would determine the 50% resistance. How Fire Resist would do it is there would never be a 0%, there would never be 100%, it would always be 25, 50, or 75. So in Fire Resist case, it would be 25% of the time you would take 25% damage, and then 25% of the time you would take 75% damage, and then 50% of the time you would take 50% damage. That's how fire resistance would play out, a 50% damage reduction. What are the ratios? So at level 60, 40 resistance is the equivalent of a 10% damage reduction. All right, 40% is 10%. So 200 resist at level 60 is a 50% damage reduction, right? Because 40 times 5 equals 200, okay? Every 40 resist, 10% damage reduction. We cool with that? And of course, when you're lower level, I think it has the same ratio, but the fire resist does more for you. So in other words, it's like 2/3 of your level in resistance equals a 10% damage reduction. Oh boy. So what the hell would that mean? That would mean 40 resistance at 60 would be a 10% damage reduction, but if I was 30, it would be a 20 resist at level 30 would be a 10% damage reduction. I've never tested it, but theoretically, that would be how it would work, right? Blessing of Salvation does what it says on the tin. Hammer of Justice, nothing interesting to say. Righteous Fury, nothing interesting to say. It literally does what it says in the tin. You can tank perfectly fine as a Paladin without improved Righteous Fury. Basic Righteous Fury is basically just fine. Seal of Justice, we already talked about that, yada, yada, yada. Judgment, nothing really interesting to say about Judgment. Some Judgments, I have heard that some Judgments count as an extra auto attack for proccing certain things. But I haven't tested Judgment enough to know about that, and I really don't care. And that's basically just the TLDR. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's such a rare... It's such a min-maxy thing to think about that I've never really even bothered with it. You get the Judgment when you get the Judgment. Fuck you. Retribution Aura. Anything to really talk about with Red Aura? Not really. Does what it says in the tin. Pretty self-explanatory. And I think we're done. Anything else to talk about with abilities, racial engineering, dwarf, anything like that? No, I guess not. I guess I'm going to log out, and I'm going to show you guys what this looks like at certain levels real fast here, just for TLDR's sake. Pause the video real quick. All right, here we are. So I'm going to remove the Onyxia buff up here. I keep forgetting to mention this, but if anybody actually has a high-level character on, I do believe my server is white main, like the PvP server white main. If anybody has a high-level, like 60 character, if you could message me, we can get together. I really need to do some stuff. So I made this Paladin specifically to try to take her on an adventure of soloing every single boss in the game as a way of showcasing the power and ability, the theoretical power and ability of Stamina Intellect Paladin, if that makes any sense. But I basically need a bodyguard / referee to make sure I can solo the boss. Alright, so let's showcase what something like this looks like real fast. I'm a little twinked out for my Paladin at this level, but not from a hardcore perspective. So, for example, I've got the green tinted goggles. I've got some Auction House Andy Stamina Intellect Stamina Spirit gear because I'm getting ready to do some stuff. I've got armor, reinforced armor kits on this thing. I've come to the conclusion that one of the best enchants that you can put on your Paladin while you're leveling, especially in hardcore, are armor kits. Why is this? Because of just how cheap thick leather armor kits are in particular. If you don't know anything about leather in classic World of Warcraft, just know that heavy leather is kind of hard to get, rugged leather is kind of hard to get, but thick leather is usually super cheap on account of the damn raptors and Ungro Crater being so easy to farm for it. So, for example, an armor kit is like a thick armor kit is like 5 thick leather and like a little bit of cloth or something like that. It's stupidly cheap. And you can start putting those on at level 35. Highly suggest that you put thick leather armor kits on your Paladin. They're cheap enough that you can basically just keep putting them on. Absolutely amazing. Do not leave home without it. Why the hell? Okay, I'm not lagging. All right, there should be a... Thank you. Was that lag? Yeah, we're lagging. Why me? Why me? Why me? Try to make videos. I just lag. Yada, yada, yada. This damn druid doesn't want to play. All right, cool. So we run up to him. We judge him. We throw down 1 consecration, and then we're just going to chill. We're just chilling. All right, I didn't show the weapons. Yeah, just some, Auction House Andy stuff. We judge. Finish off the mob, however long that was. Alright, so here's the other way to do it. We just use Seal of Justice. I mean, by that, Seal of Crusader, and we don't do anything else. Come here. Come on, you can do it. Seal of Crusader. No. Alright, come on. This is not working as well as I did. Why are you... This guy is just screwing things up, isn't he? Yeah, he is. Alright. So in theory, it's possible to kill a mob using Seal of the Crusader, and then nothing else, and you'll still have the judgment that you can use on the next mob. This isn't always the case. It really depends on how quickly you're actually killing these mobs or not, right? That is the thing that I like to do. But, you know, generally just follow the rotation guide and yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. Alright, so that's what that looks like at level 22. A little bit twinked out. The kill times are pretty good, as you can see. We'll log out here, and I'll switch over to level 35. Well, I don't have to, because I have lots of videos showing, you know, level 35, like 20-second kills, one-hander, yada, yada, yada. This is rank 3 Seal of Righteousness, by the way, along with Judgment of the Crusader, which gives me 50 spell power on the target. Oh, I probably should showcase the damage increase here real fast. I think my current weapon does 6 damage. I don't like being green. Stop that. I think my current weapon does 6 damage. SOR rank 3 without the plus 50%. Yada yada. Need some mobs, but there's a stupid druid here. This place does have dynamic respawns, so by the time I run out, there should be mobs. Yep. Alright, cool. Let's check it out at base. Yeah. No. Turn off the armor aura. So base is 6. Alright, cool. And then we do Seal of Righteousness. Yeah, so it goes up by 10 damage. Cool. Let's put on a two-hander. Okay, good. Let's look at it. Let's wait for this to fall off. Waiting for it to fall off. I feel like I'm lagging. Okay, thank you. Let's look at its base damage. 15. Let's do it with Crusader now. 25. So in both cases, it went up by plus 10. Why is this? Because the two-hander is like a 20% spell power ratio at rank 3, and the one-hander is, again, it's like 18.66%. So it's actually no joke of a DPS increase to do that, because obviously the one-handed weapon, this is a pretty fast two-handed weapon at 2.9, and the one-handed weapon is 1.8. So the faster the better, the faster the better, the faster the better. But that's pretty much what that looks like. All right, cool. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here because it's getting kind of long, and data's full, boys. But yeah, if you have a high-level character on White Mane, definitely hit me up, because I definitely need a referee for these damn 1v1 boss fights. Anyways, data's full, boys, and I'll see you guys later.